Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome to another episode of Midlife Muscle Strength Podcast. I'm Mickey Kilmartin with,
JP Wioncek.
and this is a very special guest today. We have Thor Parrish joining us. He's going to chat it up about dad life stuff, midlife fitness stuff, and probably a lot of golf stuff. I'm going to listen very intently because I'm not very good at golf. And he's going to give some insight into being a gym owner, being a trainer, and all the other stuff that goes into it. So welcome, Thor.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Happy to have you.
So first things first, Thor, the name is amazing. I have to say. Now this is that's pre like Marvel era all stuff.
Yeah,
So
so
like
my family's background is Norwegian, and so like my mom knew that she was going to have a son named Thor for a long time.
Wow.
And I just lucked out not being a skinny redhead. Like it just worked out, like they just had some balls and they were just like, yeah, here you go. This is Thor. And like, that's my birth name, Thor. It's on my driver's license and everything. Like I remember in college, they would always be like, he calls himself Thor. I'm like, well, no, like that's actually my name. Like,
So I'm a soccer guy. I got to know, did you follow the Norwegian soccer team this year, World Cup?
I got my Halloween costume already.
Oh, nice.
I know.
I can see what direction you're going in.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I suggest everyone to go to at Thor the Coach on Instagram. If you're listening to this, all our listeners, he looks exactly like Thor. Like it's like crazy how much like I'm like, this guy's huge, like huge. I don't know how tall.
That's what got me into to weightlifting pretty early on. Was just like you had to live up to the name.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So, Thor, can you just tell, we know where you are now and where we're going to get there, but can you just give us a little background on sort of your Thor origin story, so to speak, where you started out in fitness and coaching and how it evolutionized it forward?
Yeah. So fitness was introduced to me by my dad. My dad was always, as long as I could remember, doing some sort of exercising. Originally, like way back, like it was like the P90X. And then he kind of got into triathlons. And then pretty early on, he found this thing called CrossFit and fell in love with it. And the way he found it was like through a Men's Health magazine, and talked about like how you go to this website and there's a new workout posted every day and people are like logging their scores. And so this was like 2010, 2011, like early, or maybe even earlier than that. But so he built a gym in our garage, and we lived in Minnesota in the time. And so we had this RV garage when we moved into our house that was like heated and you could cool it and all this kind of stuff. And so the kids got to we threw like a trampoline in there and we had like little skate ramps. Then he had his like workout corner. Right. And then as I got older, like he would like, hey, let's do something, try a workout, try this, try that. And then a CrossFit gym opened up near our house. And then it was just not an option. It was just like, oh, everyone has to do CrossFit. Like, it's just like, so I remember probably starting when I was 15 years old, we would go to the 5:30 a.m. class together every morning. And those were great times. I remember being introduced to compound lifts, and I'm introduced to proper deadlift form. And I remember like going to school, like barely able to walk up the stairs because I'm just like dead from a workout. And my friends are like, what are you doing? I'm like, no, I love it. And so I was introduced to it pretty early on and in the CrossFit sense. And so that's always been how I've looked at exercising, is through the lens of the CrossFit methodology and the group fitness model and all that kind of stuff. During that time, my sport was golf. We could talk a little bit more about how I landed there, but basically from my whole high school career was just golf focused. I love the game. I love the sport. I love getting outside, all that kind of stuff. And so, before I knew I wanted to go do golf fitness, I knew I wanted to do golf. And that's how I landed into a PGA golf management program here in Florida at FGCU, which is now just down the road from where I live. Which is a 4-year degree. I get my, traditional college degree, but I also get my PGA credentials at the end of it. And it was through that experience and through the 16 months of internships and all that kind of stuff, I've landed on like, hey, like I love this golf thing. I love this fitness thing. Like, what can I do with the two of those together?
Awesome. So I have a sort of curious question. How did you become such a golf guy living in Minnesota? So you didn't go the hockey route. You went the golf
No, I
route.
knocked my front tooth out pretty early on, and my mom's like, done.
She can't, the hockey career was over at that point.
None of that. Golf was, I don't know what it was, but like I really enjoyed. I was the oldest of all my siblings, and so I enjoyed like that feeling of being mature, and I really liked like when I could like my parents always joke that like I'm really good with like the 6 and under and the 60 and over. Like those are my crowds. Like those are my people. So that's why I do junior golf, and that's why I teach senior golf, right? Like those are my people. And so like I loved playing golf with my grandpa, both grandpas who lived in Minnesota, so where I grew up, and then my other grandpa who lived in Virginia. And, you know, it was just kind of this thing I did on the side for a while. But when I joined my freshman year and I made the JV team, I had a lot of fun. And then my sophomore year was like my breakout year. I broke 190 and like shot low 80s all in like one season. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is super fun. And then when I visited my grandpa in Virginia, it was probably the tail end of that breakout year. He joined a new golf club in Virginia. And so they used to have, they're still members at their old one, the local one. And then he joined this club called Ballyhack. If you guys go look up Ballyhack, it's like paradise. I mean, I remember we played 18 holes. It took us like 6.5 hours. It was the craziest golf I've ever played in my life. And I stepped off and I was just like, this is what I want to do. I just want to be here all day, every day. My parents being just super supportive people, they're like, let's go talk to the pro. And so we talked to the pro, and the pro's like, hey, PGM, this is what you need to do, all this kind of stuff. And so like by the end of my sophomore year, I knew I'm going to be a PGA professional. I know I'm going to a PGM program. I finished my last 2 years of high school, like being like, this is what I'm doing, like period kind of thing. Right. And so that's, golf has just always been that thing that's drawn me, for more than the athletic side and the performance. I just love the nature of it.
That's
awesome.
It's funny. It takes people, I think nowadays people are like mid-30s and they're like, I love golf.
Yeah.
And it's like, they wish they did what you did. Like they played every sport. Like me and Mickey played every sport. And it's like, now I'm like, the sport I love is golf now. But it's like, it's crazy to think that like you had so many options for sports and like golf was the one you chose, which is, I think is unbelievable. Very mature. I mean, obviously just speaking with you, very mature decision. Kind of, I like the way you broke it down with like wanting to feel, older and,
I would, public golf in Minnesota was great in the summertime. I would, Baker National was the course that I would play at. My mom would drop me off like early morning and I would go check in. I'd be like, hey, when's the first open tee time? And they'd be like, hey, there's a threesome going out in 20 minutes. And I would jump with them and then I would meet them. Like, it would just be like another group of adults. And I'd be like, 14-year-old me just playing with them. And I thought that was awesome. Come in, snack, lunch, range, play the par 3 course, maybe sneak out for another 9. And then mom would pick me up before like sunset. And I was like, wow, this is just awesome.
That's awesome. And at that age, at 14 to be comfortable to go like just play with anybody, like the social skills and all that stuff that you probably built. Yeah, I'd imagine,
it's something I talk a lot about with my junior golf program. Is I believe that structured freedom is so critical for youth, especially in like that key like 12, 13, 14-year-old range. And so like structured freedom to me at that age was the golf course. Like it was an opportunity that my parents dropped me off and said, okay, you have freedom, go. But there's a lot of structure around it. So like they knew I was going to be okay. Like they knew like, oh, I get the, he's going to play and he's going to do this and he's going to feel freedom, but really, he's in a safe environment. The other thing was my brother was a really good skateboarder. And so we would hang out at the skate park a lot. It was the same thing there. My parents would drop us off and then we would have this like, hey, they were like, hey, you could go to the Taco Bell across the street, but that's it. And so like, it was, again, this is like structured freedom. And there's just not a lot of opportunity for that for kids nowadays. Even like, yeah, they'll drop you off at practice or whatever, but that's not like really freedom. So we run a program for those kids where they get dropped off and play 9 holes with their friends. And like, I'm the chaperone, like, facilitating, arranging and stuff like that. But it's just so good for them. Like, it's just developmentally, social skills, confidence wise, like all that kind of stuff. It's just like that's just such a critical age to have that type of environment. And I think back to my childhood, I'm like, oh, I had lots of structured freedom time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that, because my parents used to do back in the day. I would do like 3 or 4 soccer camps, but I would stay there for the week
Yeah.
at like 10, 11, 12, 13, and they would just drop you off at some college campus. And for 6 days, I was just playing soccer all day. No parents. And back then there was no cell phone. So I was just on my own.
Right?
I had to make friends. I had to go to breakfast, lunch, dinner, slept in a dorm room. And I look back, I'm like, man, that really made me capable of just like getting put in any situation and be able to make friends, talk to people. But I never looked at it as that term, structured freedom, I think is a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Talking about like youth, like what's some things that you see like youth golfers like struggle with? Like, is it a physical thing? Is it mobility? Is it strength? Is it just like athleticism as a whole? Like, what do you see with your younger golfers?
Yeah, it depends on what your age you're looking at, right? If we're talking about like the more high performers, so these are people who are like, high school wanting to go play college. The biggest issue I see with them is that like they're in the wrong mindset of like what the next 3 years need to look like for them to actually achieve their goal of playing college golf, right? They're in this mindset of like continuous improvement. They feel like they need to fix their swing. They feel like they need to build a new body. They need more distance. And I'm like, yes, you do need all of that. But actually what you really need is you need consistency and a routine, because all that is going to come natural. Like, it's just, you're going to get bigger, you're going to get stronger. And if you practice enough, you're going to get better, kind of thing. Right. But, kids at that age, like they're still like, feel like they need to search and build, where it's really like, the structure's already there. Even those like more novice older players who haven't been playing for a long time, they're not trying to necessarily like rebuild their game. They just need to sharpen their spear. And so a lot of the times, like with those more high performers, my conversations with them are just much more like, hey, like college, when you get there, is going to be extremely structured. You're going to have your workouts 3 times a week. You're going to have your practices 5 times a week. You're going to have your tournaments on the weekend, right? So we need to start living like that now, so that you get used to it and can confirm that you're actually enjoying it before you're like, oh, I want to go play college golf. And so that's the biggest thing I see, is just like, again, like they're not in the right mindset for it. But as soon as they get into the right mindset, it's awesome. Yeah, they make gains in the gym, on the golf course, everywhere they want to. They start making those gains once they really trust that process.
Yeah, I love that. You could relate that to so many people that just in fitness, like that we coach. It's like, what's the best exercise, or I want to do this or that, or like they try and look for the crazy stuff. It's like, hey, just be consistent.
Be consistent.
And take your time with it. And it's a process. It's not just like in 4 weeks you're going to be better from a program, or
for sure. Yeah,
for a season. Like, and it's funny, I think people always jumping around, especially in golf. I want to fix this, fix that. It's like, just have a process. And I think that's a great message for everyone.
And I'm really big too on when a player decides they want to, be a high performer, is we build a team around them, right? Because I do think that like the idea of a one-stop shop type of coach is just not realistic, especially in the world of golf. And so like, once a player is like, hey, like, I really need to work on my swing, I need to build my body, and I have X, Y, and Z goals, I'm like, great, let's start building your team. You need a fitter, you need a fitness guy, you need this. And, sometimes I get crazy look from parents like, oh my God, we need all this. And I'm like, well, yeah, you don't have to see them every single week, but you should have like them on your team. So that way there's no like, because you're not going to get better at golf like in the gym. Like in the gym, you're going to get stronger and you'll be more capable, so that when you go play golf, you can be a better golfer. And so like, I'm just very open and honest with people, as I'm like, hey, like if I'm your fitness guy, you need a swing instructor. And then him and I need to be on the same page with each other about like what you're working towards so that you can get there kind of thing, right? Because if I'm over here trying to teach you how to swing a club in the gym, you're going to be super confused when you get out on the golf course, right? And so I'm big on that team. Like, again, like I work with like tons of other coaches, and like I have like zero ego in the thing. I'm like, you want to teach your player this way or that way, or like as long as we're communicative and we have the same goal of making them better, I'm like, great, we can be team players.
I love that. Yeah, I'm that way with like nutrition. I program like the strength and the conditioning stuff, but people start asking me nutrition questions, and I'm like, I could do this, but this is really not like where I'm most comfortable. So I'm going to send you to people I know who are really, really good at this. Yep. And it takes it off my plate and makes me feel way more comfortable and less
100%.
overwhelmed.
100%. And thankfully, like, again, like you're saying, you're referring someone who's good at it, right? And then they make you look good too at the same time. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm curious, have you seen, and this is more like anecdotal, I guess, have you seen athletes swing too far one way or the other? Like they lean way too much into the gym aspect and try to get super strong, and then that messes with their game? Or have you seen them, maybe ignore or not pay enough attention to the gym, and then that takes away from their game? Like, is there a sweet spot, or is everybody a little bit different? Like what have you seen over the years with your approach?
I mean, there's a lot of nuances to that. I've rarely seen someone go to the gym and get too big. I mean, I think we've all can agree that we've had those people who are like, hey, I don't want to get too big. I'm like, listen, like if you teach me, like I want to be too big, and I've been working years to get too big, right? Like I was like, so like I've never seen anyone get too big. I've seen people train too hard at the beginning and then, die out, and then they get really sore, and then they take a break for a long time, and then they train hard again. They're sore. They're like, oh my God, like I can't work out in golf. I'm just always sore. I'm like, well, yeah, because you go super hard for like 6 days in a row, and then you take like 2 weeks off. So it's like I've seen that a lot, but there's not like one like, hey, I see this all the time kind of thing, right? I mean, there's definitely the perception around I don't want to be sore because I feel like it's going to affect my golf game. I don't want to be limited with my mobility. I don't want any of that kind of stuff, but I'm very honest with people. I'm like, listen, like, especially with the junior golfers I work with, I'm like, we're still building your engine, right? Like you need a bigger engine so that you can be a faster car eventually. And so to build a bigger engine, we're going to be doing things that don't look very golf specific. We're going to be doing lots of sprinting and jumping and compound lifts and things that just like 90% of people are also doing, just because we need to build a bigger engine. And they get that. They totally understand that. They're like, all right, cool, sounds good. And then every once in a while we can like sprinkle a little like fun golf fitness exercise in there, etc. But I get the players I'm working with, I mean, they're hitting 300, 400 balls a day. So like for me, I'm like, I really don't want them rotating too much, honestly. And so like, I'd rather focus on like more traditional compound lifts while we're in the gym, and not like on the speed sticks or the rotational cables or anything like that. Because again, they're rotating like hundreds of times a day, thousands of times a week. They're getting plenty of rotation. They just need to build the bigger engine.
So it's you keep it as almost as general as possible, and then at times add in a little bit of specific golf stuff. Because
as they get older, I've had one client. I've been very, very grateful that I've had clients for long times, right? Like I have a series of clients who were like 12, 13 when they met me, and now they're in college, right? And when we first started, again, very GPP, very all this kind of stuff. And then as they got older, I almost like passed off them to more of a physical therapist guy, who I was, working with. Like they would do like, at the beginning, like 3 sessions with me a week. And then as we got like farther into their career, where like, again, they just needed to sharpen their spear more, like I would see them less and the PT guy would see them more. So that way he could do more like body work stuff, and he could do the more like fine tuning joint, like really make sure. Cause like you would leave a session with him and you'd be like, God, I feel great. You'd leave a session with me and you'd be like, man, that kicks my ass. And so it's like, you need a little bit more of the like, man, I feel great as you get into a high performance state in golf. Like, I mean, those PGA Tour players, when they're going into the gym with their trainers, they're not leaving being like, holy crap, that smoked me. They're leaving like, man, I feel fired up. I'm ready to go. Let's go play some golf. And most of the time, the people who are really good at structuring those programs are going to be your PTs, your physical therapists, your chiros and stuff like that. And so like, as they got a little bit older and again, needed just more sharpening, I would see them a little less. The PT would see them a little bit more.
Yeah. I think it can't be understated. I think people might not realize if they're not in the golf scene, like the repetition, like how many times they're swinging. And like you said, the PT part of it, because of just the amount of use, like over and over and over again, the same joints, same muscles, same like rotation, et cetera, that's a really, I think, smart approach that you're, leaning more into almost like recovery and prep rather than hammering their body.
And, he would be able to know before I would when that player was going to get injured. Like he'd be able to test and be like, oh man, like, our internal hip rotation is down like 10 degrees right now. Like, or wow, you feel really tight, like all this kind of stuff. And for me, like I could gauge that off of the performance in one of our sessions and the power output and the splits they're hitting and all that kind of stuff. But he's able to see it just a lot faster. Right. And so I think it's really important to always have that touch point with someone who knows that. But thankfully, almost, all kids now are used to like some sort of like recovery tracking device too, like a Whoop or a ring or something like that. And so, I've those older players, I'm always checking in like, hey, what was your sleep score last night? Like, what's your recovery score? Like that kind of stuff. Right. Cause it's not common for a kid to come in for a session and he's like, well, 2 hours of sleep last night. I'm like, crap. Okay. Like hop on the bike. We're just going to talk for a while. I don't get to do any fun stuff with you. We just get to like sweat and stretch and then we'll move on from there. So, I think having those like kind of markers to make sure you're not going to injure yourself is really important. And those PT team players are awesome for helping with that.
I love that.
Love it.
Is there like flip it to your other clientele, like older clientele, like what do you see their physical limitation is? Is it the mobility size, the flexibility, the strength? Like what do you see the biggest issues there?
I mean, they'll have some sort of story behind their compensation, bad hip or this replacement or this injury or this broken or man, this has been nagging me for 10 years. So for them, it's a lot of like TPI is so great for them because like their limitations are their limitations. It's just we can manage them, but I can't necessarily change them, especially when they're like 60 plus, right? So do a TPI assessment, look at the limitations, and it's like using my brain to get creative of like, okay, how can we write a program that's going to match your limitations and you're going to see improvement, but also keep our expectations managed as well, right? And so, it's very different with those older clientele. Again, it's very, the style of exercises are not very different. The intensity is definitely different. The weights are definitely different. The pace, all that kind of stuff. But again, it's more like managing limitations where with a junior player, I'm like, dude, who knows who you're going to be in like 3 months from now, right? Like, so these limitations we have today could be gone tomorrow. Like it could be gone tomorrow, right? You could have just like, again, you're just always developing and growing where those senior players, it's just not the case.
And then off that same thing, it's like, when do you realize, I mean, obviously you've been doing it for a long time. Like when do you see a player and it's like, oh, that's a swing issue or that's a body issue? Like, hey, they're not strong enough or they don't have the mobility, or like, is it just like, oh, that's a technique thing that you're struggling with?
Yeah. When I do a TPI assessment, I know exactly what their swing looks like. Like like you give me like an overhead squat, a toe touch, and a 90-90 test. I'm like, I know what your swing looks like, right? And so most of the time, their swing is going to be resembling of that limitation, right? And so it's hard for me to say like it's a technical issue, because like a technical issue means that we can fix it, right? And so I look at like a player who may have like the terminology of like over the top, right, where they're swinging over the top, and this is due to the fact that they have some sort of limitation. I'm like, yes, there's a technical issue with their swing, but really what it is they don't know what their swing is doing. They think it's doing something different, and it's actually doing this. And if I could show them what it's actually doing, then they can use that to play better golf. Sometimes we'll make great gains and, really improve the technique of their swing. But again, lots of times it's just like managing, like, hey, this is your tendency. And so we just need to understand that, like, you think you're doing this, but if you look at the video, like, you're not doing that. And because of that, you need to play this type of golf to make sure you're more consistent.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's cool. So I have a question about conditioning. A lot of people who are going to listen might be thinking, oh, golf, you just walk around for 18 holes. Maybe you get a cart.
Yeah.
You don't even need to walk.
Yeah.
How much does conditioning play a role in the way that you program? Or does that, like you said earlier, it's nuanced, right, for everybody. But do you have conditioning of some sort as like a cornerstone or a pillar for everybody, regardless of level and, how they play, et cetera?
Yeah. So I'll start with just like a story of a player who went to the U.S. Kids World Championship last week. So she competed in the girls 9-year-old division, right?
Wow, cool.
At Pinehurst. And so you arrive on Monday, and you got, they did a full 18 to get the full experience. So full 18 Monday, range after. Then they did 9 holes the next day, practice round, range after. 9 holes the next day, range after. And then 3 days of 9-hole tournaments.
Wow.
At 9 years old, right? And walking the whole time, right? So, even for at that level, right? Once you get to that stage, that's close to like 12 miles of walking over that week, right?
Oh yeah.
Thousands of golf balls hit at 9 years old. And then as that was her last year of 9 holes. Next year she's 18. So now it's, 3 days of 18 prep, 3 days of 18 tournament. So it's, when you think about it that way, it's like, wow, okay, yeah, you really need to be conditioned the right way. And honestly, it's more like when you are in a tournament, it's like kind of marathon strategy where you're like making sure you're slowly pacing yourself and you're never getting dehydrated and you're always refueling at the right time. And so like in a tournament setting, it's very marathon-esque where you have these checkpoints you're hitting, you're fueling properly, you're resting accordingly, all that kind of stuff. And so where conditioning comes into effect with that is like I think that like teaching them what fatigue feels like, right, and what high heart rate feels like, and what all that really effort feels like on a high level is super beneficial. So when they go into these settings and they are fatigued, they're not in an unfamiliar state. And so where, you may make the case that like, why are you doing, sprint intervals or rowing intervals or bike intervals or anything like that? I'm like, I want them to understand how to be fatigued and how to still put effort in, right? Because like, that's what's going to happen on that last day of that tournament is they're going to be really fatigued and really tired. And then they're going to need to be mentally strong enough to say, okay, I'm going to go for another sprint effort. I'm going to go for another bout of energy. Right. And so, when you take it, like there's a lot of like mental benefits to it for sure, but you also see the physical benefits too of a player who can produce power and who can, condition appropriately and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's really important because like I said, a lot of people look at golf like, oh, you just walk around. Like, what do you need conditioning for? That type of thing. And I know some, people who are sort of like, avid golfers that just golf as a hobby. and they're not in the gym that much, and they're always complaining about how sore they are after a round or how tired they are. And I'm always telling them, if you did a little bit outside the golf course, you probably feel a lot better when you're out there doing 18 holes on a Saturday with your buddies, rather than feeling smoked. So yeah, I think that's a great point of view and a great point you made about just being conditioned in general with the mental and the physical is really important.
Do you have any like strength standards for golfers? Like, hey, every golfer should be able to do X, Y, Z, or is it kind of individual basis?
There's some good TPI stuff I use from the power track. That's like a med ball throw and a seated throw and a jump test and a grip strength and stuff like that. So those are always nice because I can compare it to tour players and LPGA players and college players, and so I can showcase like, hey, like this is literally where those guys or those girls are at, and this is where you're at, right? So we need to improve that, right? I do think that like being very comfortable with like body weight on the barbell is important. Like when you think about like back squatting and deadlifting and bench pressing, like we're kind of always shooting for that like body weight number and kind of going relative off of that for those high performers. I'm not going to say I wouldn't go heavier than that for people, but like you don't necessarily need to. And so for someone who comes in, they're like, I want to get stronger. I'm like, all right, let's get you to a body weight deadlift or a body weight squat or something like that. Like that's our goal, is to get you there, that you're really comfortable with your body weight on a barbell, being able to lift it. If we surpass that, awesome. We're stoked. Like bonus, we're going to keep getting stronger. Great. But if we don't get there, that's okay, right? I'm not like, because there's those strength standards that sometimes you see of like body weight bench, double it for your back squat and 1 or 2.5 for your deadlift or something crazy like that. I'm just like, a golfer doesn't need that strength, especially, at a younger age. And so I would say I use the TPI standards most. And then once we get into the compound lifts, I kind of go off body weight for most of those barbells is like what we're shooting for.
Yeah, that's cool.
So are you encouraging athletes you work with to do like a CrossFit methodology type training, or are you more of like, would you say you lean more into like a strength and conditioning traditional, like if you looked at let's call it like a college strength and conditioning weight room, like is that what I would see if I peeled the curtain back, or have you sort of thrown a little CrossFit spice in to make it a little bit more unique to your style?
It really depends on like what your guys' experience are with CrossFit, right? Like if you go into your normal CrossFit gym and you join a class, like my workouts look very different than that. But when you compare it to like what the methodology is of CrossFit, it looks very similar to the methodology of CrossFit. And so what I mean by that is like CrossFit methodology is very like GPP, right? General physical preparedness is based off of these 12 foundational movements and is based off of the idea that like you should be prepared for the unknown and the unknowable, right? So if you look at my programming in that sense, I have a very GPP focused. I have foundational movements that I always go to and I always use that we master, and I put them in a cycle and a pattern that makes you feel like, oh, I'm ready to handle whatever comes at me. And so I don't feel the need for my players to master the toe to bar, the bar muscle up, the squat snatch, just because those aren't part of the foundational movements I'm pulling from. Like we don't have to like teach that skill so that they could jump into a traditional, like a normal CrossFit class and be comfortable. Like my goal is just taking the methodology and then applying the concepts that I know work. But what I really like about that program right there is eventually they actually become very like self-sufficient in their exercises. Like I'll have players who are like traveling, they'll be like, dude, I came up with this workout. Like it was awesome. And then they'll send me that. I'm like, oh, that's so rad. Like, yes, like,
that's cool.
So cool you came up with that, right? But I definitely preface that as soon as they get to college, it's going to look totally different. Like I
Mm-hmm.
showcase, I'm like, hey, like this is one of my college players' routines. It's the same exercises, leg days, this days, you're going to hit these reps and all this kind of stuff. And they, it's funny because they're like, oh, well, does that get boring? I'm like, yes, but it's like, it's needed. Like you need that routine, you need that structure to see progressive overload, etc. But what I find is that like using the CrossFit methodology just makes it more fun for them and
Mm-hmm.
gets them more involved and makes them more self-sufficient. And so, um, I get to kind of pick and choose the parts of CrossFit that I like so much, and then I kind of add my own little twist to it.
I love that. Last little CrossFit. So, question about the training? Do they do like metcons per se? Like, so do
Yeah.
you have like a strength? You basically like start your session with strength and the building blocks, and then do you end with like a metcon conditioning thing, or is
Yeah,
that
for
not?
sure. So we'll normally like whatever, we'll jump on some sort of bike and warm up and stretch, etc., catch up with them. We'll get into some sort of compound lift right away. So that'll be like a strict press, or it will be a bench press, or it'll be a squat, or it'll be a something, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
that movement will be complemented in the metcon that we're doing, right? So if we're doing back squats for our strength, you'll see some sort of maybe goblet squats in the metcon, or we'll do some sort of like maybe like a front squat or something like that. So it complements it in there. So the technique we're working on translates to that metcon. Now that metcon is normally not for time. It's normally not like 3, 2, 1, go, complete it for time. It's normally like an EMOM, an AMRAP, a
Okay, all right, I see.
work to rest ratio kind of thing
Yeah.
like that. So that way I can still have a lot of control of the intensity and of the technique, because it's really the for time aspect that like they get into this like, oh, well, as fast as I can. And the goal is to finish it as quickly as possible, where it's like, no, that's not necessarily the intent of it, right? Like I can be really specific on like, I want a bike squat jump, right? I want you to bike 10 calories. I want you to squat 10 times. I want you to do 10 broad jumps. And I want you to do that every 2 minutes for 10 sets. So that way I can like really like check in with them, watch the form, the technique, all this kind of stuff. And then there's no like, oh, this is for time kind of thing. So most of those metcons are going to be in that format.
I love that.
That's cool. I like that.
I think the intensity comment, like, because the CrossFit mentality is like go ham and crush yourself, but like that's not going to serve you well if your form looks terrible. You're not hitting the right stimulus because you're just smoking yourself. I like the that approach rather than crush yourself every workout and limp out of the gym.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And that is definitely a stigma, and that's definitely the culture at CrossFit gyms, right? But again, it's who's coaching the class, who owns the gym, what's the programming look like, all that kind of stuff, right? So I've had players who have loved the methodology and are like, hey, can I jump into a class every now and then? I'm like, yeah, 100%. I trust my coaching. I trust my programming, like 1,000%. Jump in, have fun. And then other people are like, like I love the CrossFit thing. I love doing the workouts. The one-on-one setting is just better for me. And I'm like, cool, sounds great.
Have you found that CrossFit has helped I mean, obviously you CrossFit now. Is that kind
Yeah,
of your own?
what I
Like,
really like about, again, like how I was introduced to CrossFit, was this idea that like you're creating this level of fitness that's just going to carry on for a very, very long time, right? And the sport of CrossFit has definitely taken away from that, but at its core, CrossFit is this methodology and programming that like you're supposed to be able to do when you're 80 years old, right? And there was a stint of time when CrossFit was really focused on that. Like you'd go to the website and it was all seniors doing workouts, and people are like, what is this? This is crazy. But it's like, but yes, I mean, that's how the methodology is supposed to work, is that it's scalable for all levels of fitness. And so for me, the great thing about CrossFit and where I'm at in life is the fact that like I feel like I can scale and modify, and I have this trajectory that I can follow, so that I'm always going to be able to be capable of playing golf. I set this like lifetime goal of like walking 18 holes when I'm 100 years old.
yeah,
And so
I
when
love
I
that.
think about that goal and I think about what's going to get me there, is it's not necessarily the sport of CrossFit's going to get me there, but the methodology is going to get me there. The idea that like, hey, I'm going to back squat until the day I can't back squat, and then I'm going to box squat until the day I can't box squat, and then I'm going to do a higher, like, I'm never going to not do a movement. I'm just going to always modify it to match the fitness level I'm at, kind of thing.
Yeah, me and Mickey didn't get that part correct. We just destroyed ourselves in CrossFit for the sport, like the sport aspect of it. But I love the like, now our longevity is like, we still stay close to those compound movements, but it's for longevity. I commend you on having the perspective at such a young age to be like, hey, CrossFit is great methodology, but it's not like my sport. And it's cool that you have golf as like, hey, this is my sport. I can do it for a long time. And then you're coupling it with like a training program you can do forever as well. I think a lot of people get the intensity part wrong that we were just talking about. And then obviously they push the movements farther past where it's like, okay, do I need to be back squatting 500 pounds to get the benefit of walking?
I'm fully aware that there are lifts I've hit today, like in the last few years, that I will never touch again or never PR on, right? Like, I'm like, hey, I got like 5 more years to like get there, right? Like I have this goal of like, I want to like squat 500, run a 5-minute mile, and shoot 5 under par in 24 hours. And I'm like, so I'm like, okay, I got like 6 more years to make that thing happen, because, at some point I'm just not going to want to put 500 pounds on the bar. Like, it's just like not, just not going to be necessary. Right. Like, cause even like in a class setting, like, I mean, this is a good example. Like if we have like 80% 5x3 back squats, I'm like, fuck, 80% before a Metcon. I'm like, that's going to take me like 40 minutes to get to. So it's when I jump into a class and it says 80%, I'm not really doing 80%. I'm doing like 60%, because then I know, like, I just know I'm comfortable there. I'm cool there. I can lift, etc. And then I can do the Metcon after, and I can feel really good about it. If I really wanted to do 5x3 at 80%, that's my whole hour. That's my whole hour right there. I can't do that and then a Metcon. And I think a lot of people get that wrong, is they work up to their 80% and they jump there too quickly, and then they get into a Metcon afterwards, right? And so I think, again, by leading by example, where like, I mean, I've definitely had it where people in class are like, oh, what'd you squat? And I was like, 225. They're like, I squatted 225. I'm like, well, yeah, but we're about to squat like 150 more times in like 5 minutes from now. So I'm like, let's just take it easy, right? So I think that, like, again, like, it's there are lifts that, like, and things I've done in the past that just, it's really, really hard to imagine I'm ever going to hit that stuff again, or need to hit that stuff again.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think the thing you mentioned about coaching, like you as like owner / coach, not going super heavy on the squats is just such a good example for people who think you got a PR every time you're in the gym, because that becomes, and that's where I think like the sport and methodology have muddied the waters, because this CrossFit sport has gotten people to achieve amazing things, and we've seen insane stuff from those athletes, but it's then hard for the normal 9-to-5 person to go into their CrossFit class and be in there like, well, I'm doing CrossFit, so I want to do what they're doing. Right. And then like pumping the brakes for them, say, no, like, you don't really need that. Like, you don't want to crush their dreams per se, but
in that same note, if you take that idea that like, hey, like, again, these guys are going too hard, you don't need it. I think when golfers look at PGA Tour players and they look at their exercises, they're like, that's what I need to be doing. And I'm like, actually, that's not enough. Like what they're doing is they're sharpening their spear and making sure they don't get hurt. You're 15 pounds overweight, and so you need to lose 15 pounds by doing more CrossFit stuff to get better at golf. And they're like, well, look at that. This is what, they're doing the single arm leg with the band pulls and the Golf Forever trainer. I'm like, great for them. You're not them, right? You're not there, right? Like we need to be more on the CrossFit intensity side, so that you can make the progress you actually want to make, so then you could play better golf. So I see both sides of it, where like, yes, you can go too hard, but golf fitness sometimes is too soft.
hmm Or just
Yeah.
it's too specific. Like they're
Yes.
hugging a,
Yeah.
they're hugging an exercise ball, doing a cable,
Yes.
a rotation, standing on a balance,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
and so they see that, and it's like they can do that because they did all the boring stuff forever. Now
Yep.
they
For
need
sure.
to do that thing.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Where do you see the future of like golf performance going? Like, what do you think? Is it more like tech related? Is it more like what do you think is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years? Like the separators.
It'll be really interesting when they introduce this new ball. What's that's gonna do for technology and all this kind of stuff, because it is gonna force the players to be a little bit more accurate, just because there's the higher spin rates and stuff like that. And so, I mean, I think that we're gonna see technology in the clubs change drastically here pretty soon. I think there's been a lot of emphasis in the last few years on like ball. Like, I mean, there's Pro V1, X dash, left dash, X1. Like there's a million different Pro V1s now. They've really explored that option. But as soon as the tour players are playing this like specific ball, I think it's in like 2 years or something, I think you're going to see the technology like go much more towards the stuff you're seeing with Bryson, which is like the curved face irons, right? And this idea of like minimizing offset hits and spin access and stuff like that. So I see the future going there. I mean, I play curved face single length irons just like Bryson.
That's cool.
And I do that because it allows me, at the life I live with the amount I can practice, to provide way more consistency in my game, like drastically. So the like, because it's all one setup. Like it's just one setup, it's one swing, it's one thought. I got one club for each of these distances. And so like I think that you're going to see that become a little bit more prevalent in tour players, but also in your amateur golfers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the tour, I'm sure the tour, the stuff at the highest level always sort of trickles down to the younger players, and then
it does, but I think more than anything, forever we've been under the idea that what they're doing is what's going to be best for us.
Oh yeah.
And so what they're doing is not best for us, it's best for them. And now we're at a point where technology is so readily available for the average golfer demographic that we can actually prove that what's best for us is this versus just copying what they're doing.
Great point.
Yeah.
That's a really good insight.
What let's have you brag a little bit. Let me hear like what's your best score you ever shot in golf, like driving distance, maybe some lifts. I want to hear
so my claim to fame is that I'm the fittest PGA professional in the world. And
yes,
the claim to that is I use the CrossFit Open. I'm like, anyone who wants to beat me in the CrossFit Open, go ahead.
Yeah.
Beat me in the CrossFit Open. But yeah, so my best score, I shot it 2 years ago. It was a 66 at a course over here in Fort Myers called Stony Brook. Or no, not Stony Brook, but San Carlos. A 66. Yep. I still play to scratch, right? So I'm out there shooting anywhere between 72 to 76 on average. I did long drive for a while, so my longest ball was 392 in competition. Whew. I regularly average over 335 on the golf course. From a lift standpoint, I've back squatted 500. I've benched 315. My clean is 375. My mile, like I ran it like 2 weeks ago or something, was like a 602 or a 603.
It's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, again, I love leading by example. I mean, so like for me, it's just like, I don't understand how you can be a strength and conditioning coach or a golf coach and like not lead by example and explore your own game and work at your own game and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm always looking at ways to challenge myself. Like I talked about that 500-pound, 5 mile, 5 under par kind of thing. And so that's just where I'm at right now. I do eventually want to transition back into more like stroke play, competition style stuff, but like it's never been the competition that's drew me to golf. It's always been like the pursuit of perfection that I've really enjoyed, and the idea that like every day I can chip away at something, and every day I can have something to chip away at, and just never get there. Right. And so, so again, lots of my goals and lots of my things are oriented around like specific small goals, but eventually I'd like to transition back into the stroke play side of things and be really competitive in that field.
That's awesome. 375 clean. Jeez, JP. I don't know. Even in your best days, would you think you got 375?
No, I think I was like 355, but I'm 20 pounds off of that.
Yeah, no, it's I like the clean. I like the clean for sure. And
do you snatch just like with your shoulders, like still do that?
Yep, I snatch and all that kind of stuff, and like the better I am with my snatch technique, the more flexible I am, just period, right? So like there'll be periods where I'm like, oh God, I really got to work on my snatch. And what that really means is I got to stretch more. I got to work on my mobility. I got to warm up properly, all that kind of stuff. So, I do like incorporating those more like technical movements because it does force me, again, in pursuit of perfection, of like, all right, like I really got to nail the fundamentals so that I can do well there, right? And so, man, I just need to stretch more.
I think I like going from the fitness side to the golf side. Like I think the snatch translates. Like I did lacrosse. Like face off was a very specific thing. Then I love the lifting just because of the technique side. Like, and then golf for me is like more that like just mastering those technical movements. Like it's everything happening really quickly. And that short amount of time. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I've
mentally stimulates.
What I like doing with Olympic lifts and golfers, and something I do feel like translates well is doing like Olympic lifting complexes. Cause I do understand that like, okay, like if I'm about to do a snatch, I get into position, I build tension, and then boom, power. But there's only like, there's one tension point during that there, which is at the beginning, and then you end the lift overhead, right? But in golf, there's really like multiple tension points. There's like the beginning, and then there's the top swing, and then there's the transition, and then there's impact. So there's lots of like transition
technical points,
technical points during it. So I really like the like doing a complex, like doing a clean into a hang clean into a front squat into a jerk, right? To like teach that idea of like flowing compound tension, recoil, using pressure, all that kind of stuff. Because that's one thing that I see the best players in the world do, is that at the transition of their top swing, they're actually using like force and power in the downswing. It's, although you do see some players pause at the top, most amateur golfers don't know how to like transition force, like from back to forward, and really create that whip effect. And so I do like the Olympic lifts for that, and I really like the compound or the complex movements with it.
Yeah,
and they enjoy it too. I think it's fun.
So before we wrap up here, do you have like one piece of advice for any of our golfers out there in terms of fitness or technique? Like what's one thing you'd say someone like, all right, like I'm a 12 handicap, and I don't work out. Like what's a piece of advice maybe you have for them, if they want to get better in the gym or better on the golf course?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much information out there that you could just like YouTube, Google, all that kind of stuff. But the best thing you can do is hire a coach. It's the best thing you can do. Like I have coaches. Like when I'm writing my program or I'm working on my swing, like as experienced as I am, I still hire a coach, right? Because they just have eyes and they do things, and I'm going to do what they tell me to do. So again, like I think it's just so important to have a PGA professional helping with your swing, or a certified strength and conditioning coach helping with your program. Or if you're in pain, like go fucking deal with it with a physical therapist. Like go to an expert. It's worth the money. And even if you just see them a couple times, what they tell you is going to be way more applicable than what you're Google searching online.
So that's a great, in the age of AI, that's a good piece of advice.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
So Thor, where can people find you if they want to check out your programming and all that stuff online?
Thor the Coach on Instagram is where I'm going to be posting most of my content and stuff. And then through my link there is how you'll find my other businesses. So you'll find the Junior Golf Academy through my link tree. You'll find Thunder Performance, which is the CrossFit gym, and then you'll find Par Golf Studios, which are the indoor studios that I run. Yeah, man, I love connecting with people like you guys and talking and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So like, please just hit me up on Instagram and I'm happy to help you out as much as I can. And if I can't, push you in the right direction.
Love that. So it's been awesome having you on. You know, we might have to have you on in the future if you hit that 555, get that.
Yeah. I'll keep you posted.
Keep us posted. I'm going to be following.
We'll have you on for just a CrossFit. We'll talk about your CrossFit gym and
would love to do that. We can. Would love to talk the business side too, because like I've really, you know, been more active on social media, and you know the demographic I'm pulling towards are these dads golfers who like fitness, but also these people who feel like they're trying to search for a greater purpose in life. And so I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, man, I want to go start a business, or I want to go whatever, make a career out of this. And so I'm very, very grateful that like I live a life where I make money off of my passions, and would love to help other people feel the fulfillment that I do every single day.
It's awesome. Love it. All right, Thor. Well, it's been amazing. Thanks for joining us. We'll have this posted soon enough so people can check it out. And again, they can find you at Thor the Coach. Thor the Coach on Instagram, and you can find all your links and stuff there. Right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you soon.